Today is April 6th. The Bronx Bombers came to spoil our weekend. The Bucks avoided a sweep, but the damage was already done. We have a difficult show tonight, fam. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh. Jake traveled up from Mississippi to go to the home opener Friday night, and they're still around town. They're heading home, I believe, Tuesday night. When they get a chance to visit back home, their schedule's usually pretty booked, so Jake told me he wasn't going to be available tonight. So we talked a lot of this over. We talked a lot of this over Friday after the game, and the next morning we got an opportunity to hang out for a couple hours. So he won't be on here tonight, but yeah, braving the tornadoes, Douglas Smith said. They drove up through all of those tornadoes and everything. Crazy. But yeah. We obviously are going to talk about Friday. I know that the Pirates won a game today, and we're going to get into that, but we're gonna have to talk about Friday. I told him that this is probably the hardest podcast that I've had to do since we started back in 2021. I wrote down a lot of my experience Saturday from the home opener Friday night. And with Jake out tonight, I was going to make a couple calls, but I decided that now's as good a time as any to talk about it. And so that's what we're going to do. Stick around. It might be a little bit difficult. I wrote a lot of this down, so I will probably spend a lot of time. I've got some bullet notes right here, but eventually I'm going to get to the place where I wrote a lot of this down, and so I might actually, this is so not normal for me because I can't read well, but I'm going to have to read some of this tonight just to make sure that some of this is correct. But hang in there because I think this is an important episode that we'll want to get through, and then. You know us, we like to talk baseball here, mostly baseball. But occasionally, you can't just continue to go down this path when there's things right in front of you. So we are going to have to talk about it. So we're going to get to just bear with me here. We're going to start with today's game real quick because they won a game. Andrew Heaney was great. The Pirates still failed to score more than 4 runs in 9 innings, but they got their 5th run. They somehow danced out of danger to avoid giving up the 5th run when they got to extra innings, which is crazy. They did blow it in the 9th again, but they had some clutch moments out of the bullpen in extra innings, which was good to see. I've said it a million times. The 9th inning is different. Good pitchers fail in the 9th inning, right? It takes a certain type of dude to get it done. And the Pirates right now don't have that dude. They don't. There's a mental side of being that dude. There's a physical side. You have to be good and you have to be the guy, right? If you have both of those things, you can be the dude. David Bednar was the dude for 2.5 years. He had all of that. He's got to get something back. Somebody else has got to find something else. We've got to figure this out. Anyway, we avoided the sweep. We did well there. I don't know. I was going to say the defense stepped up today and all that, but that really didn't happen. There was still some defensive blunders. There was still some Pirates baseball that we've been seeing since the beginning of this year. But Andrew Heaney set the table, and the bullpen came through at the end. Rob is pointing out here, Jack 50% K rate. it's so weird because when you watch the game and you saw even the first couple games that Jack got an opportunity to play, you were kind of feeling good about him. You were like, man, he's hitting the ball hard. He's unlucky right now, but he's hitting the ball hard. Too many strikeouts, but we feel like it might get good right there. And then it just seems to be more and more. They found a pitch. He's chasing the low breaking ball more than he used to. And I think right now he's got to figure out how to spit on that. And if he can spit on that pitch, I think he's going to be okay. Because when he's making contact, he's looking a lot better. I still like Jack. I don't disagree with Rob saying, if he doesn't improve by the end of May, maybe it's time to at least throw in the towel now, like for this season. Like at least he's going to be sent down. He has his option. If he doesn't figure it out by the end of the year, yeah. I mean, it's going to be time to move on. So there's a lot of that. Pit City What saying they desperately need Gonzo, Horwitz, and Jones back ASAP. Yeah, I mean, it feels like that, right? Even if it's not Gonzo, let's even say Nick York. Like we've talked about Nick York. He started off pretty good, but now he's on the shelf. He's on the IL too. So we're getting close to the day that I think he could be called up tomorrow, right? Position players 10 days after opening day. That's tomorrow. I don't know if you have to be like 10 days and then or 10, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is. So maybe it's Tuesday. I don't know. But it doesn't matter with him because now he's on the 7-day IL and he's injured. And so, it's not like we know anything else there. Plus, I'll be honest. Emmanuel Valdez, for the most part, has been a little bit of a spark. He's shown some things. So I think there's a little bit there. So yeah, Mutu says Jack is best with a 30% K rate. 35 plus though isn't sustainable. It's not sustainable. And it's very high right now. And you just can't strike out that much. It'll even out. And even if it like a lot of times with baseball, right? If you go through a stretch like this, what you're going to have to do is say like, hey, after this date, it's only been a 27% K rate. It's probably still 40 at the end of May, right? But just because it's hard to erase what just happened. But if you can make up ground with baseball, a lot of times you have to say, hey, after this date, this is what you've done. Let's erase this. You can't erase it officially, but like as you're projecting forward and saying, are you figuring it out? So I don't know. Mike says Horwitz will have a few at bats in Indy this week. So that's interesting. So anyway, yeah, we got to get this thing going. I want to make something. Sorry. Reset. Okay. Great job. You won the game today. Oh, you know what? Just side note there. Yes. Jack also had a great steal of third, which was huge. If Pham hits that ball to the mid outfield, that game was won by Jack. Instead, Pham does get a hold of it. Fantastic at bat for Pham. And no, it doesn't change anything of how I feel about Tommy Pham. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. I don't know. Whatever. This will buy him a few extra more days. That's it. But anyway, let's get talking about Friday. I don't know how long it's going to take. But I think it's important that we kind of level set on this a little bit. Because you know that, like, I just want to talk baseball. But I know that I've had some comments. I've had people say, like, you want opinions. You want us to be able to also talk about this stuff. And I think there's been moments where on this podcast we've talked about how sometimes we come to this live show even and say, like, at least we got this out. We talked about it as fans and all that stuff. So I'm going to make it clear right out of the gate that I'm going to try to navigate this episode fairly, as fair as possible. Right. And I know, like, early on, I'm going to try to leave like opinions and I'm going to try to not inject a lot of opinion in there because I just want to tell the story, and then we'll get to that later, but maybe just to tell the story of what I saw and then what I've talked to other people and what they saw. And I even went back and watched some of the broadcast, and what I saw on the broadcast just trying to get like a general idea. But on this show, we've always tried to be fair. Call a spade a spade. If things are going terrible, but we saw something that was good, we like to point it out. We do talk about positive things here because we believe they're more enjoyable to talk about. But the bad things, I don't like to sugarcoat, right? I just maybe might skip over some of them sometimes. And then we also just try to address the things that are there. It's just the way I like to do things because I just don't want to go out there with a mindset saying like, oh, I'm a really positive Pirates fan. Let's only talk about positive things, and all the negative things, let me try to twist to make them positive. Like, that's not me, right? And also, I'm just not like torches and pitchforks and saying, let's burn the whole thing down. And no matter what good happens, I'm going to twist it to make it bad. Like, those are just two ways that I can't operate. Sometimes the fan base takes care of the negative stuff for me and we don't have to talk about it. So that's also true. But, I can be called different things because of the way that, we approach things. It's, whatever it is, right? This is a good question real quick. You guys can continue to chat. The things that I'm talking about, pour into it. I will try to keep my eye on the chat. My chat is right here, right beside my notes. So keep them there, and I'll try to share this stuff. But even if you have little things like this, Pit City What says, so Harrington is just chilling now. That's something that like I may interject just to get some things out here, and we haven't really gotten started yet. So my guess is a Mlodzinski Harrington piggyback situation for a minute, which I think would be great if Mlodzinski can get us once through the order or through 3 innings, and then you can give it to Harrington to try to go once through the order or until he needs to come out. I think that could be something that is doable. So I don't know how you feel about that, but I kind of feel, see, Rob says the same thing. They're going to go piggyback Carmen and Harrington. I think that's probably how I see it happening too. And I think that'd be smart, to be honest with you, because Mlodzinski once through, or once he got to 40 pitches, whichever one it actually was, see how that goes. So anyway, back to what I was saying, from a baseball standpoint, we always try to be fair and treat each situation individually, define the good, the bad, whatever. I also want to provide, value for you guys. Earlier today, I shared the O'Neal Cruz video because all I saw was the error that he made over and over and over again, and everybody yelling about it. Literally, the play before that, he made a very good play on a very similar one, a line drive that was hard. You can go out if you're on Twitter, you can see my tweet. But it's a line drive. It's the hardest play for a center fielder. And one play he did really well. One play he failed. And so it's just a way to say, like, we hope as he learns, we're still only 30 games in. As a center fielder, we hope that he learns that the dive is a success, and the failure is just pulling up and still keeping the ball in front of you. So that's what you hope for. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, I wanted to say all this just to say, like, we're going to walk through what happened Friday night and really the rest of the weekend and what will probably play out for most of the summer unless things change. And my approach will be to explain what I saw during the game, to explain what I've heard other people seeing, because not everybody's experience was the same. So it's not like I talk to everyone. It's not like I can get a factual breakdown. So I will say right out of the gate that in this podcast episode or anyone else's description or podcast or write-up or whatever, there's room for error because everybody had a bit of a different experience. I even heard 2 people who were in center field, and one of them said, people were pretty mad. I don't know if it wasn't as bad. And then someone else who literally was in center field said, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I think maybe there's even like what you went into it expecting that may have changed your perception of what was going on. So, all right. So let me get through some of this right here. As Cheryl says, I really hated the sell the team chance on Friday. It really took away from the home opener. And that's something that I've heard a lot. I've also heard people say there wasn't enough of it. So let's get there. I will say that, and this is when I'll probably look down and maybe read some more stuff. This was one of the most difficult games that I've sat through. I even stood for the last 4 innings of it. So sat is a interesting word. But this has been a family tradition for me and Katie for a long time. Our kids have never missed a home opener. There's excitement. There's something special in the air. It doesn't always have to do with optimism for the Pirates necessarily, but the fact that we're able to get back to PNC Park and watch baseball, the best sport I know, right? And all those things, right? And my story today should be about our 2-year-old son who wanted to buy a specific hat at Rally House because it was just like Dad's, this one. You know, he bought one his size and he wore it with a smile and he felt like he looked like his dad and he was proud about it. And as a father, it makes you proud. 2-year-olds, dads don't get a lot of wins. So this was something that, like, you know, it felt good regardless of the team the rest of the day. I have friends that are close to me here and are also dads. And later I texted them that story and they're like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? It's a thing. Like, if you're a dad listening to this, you probably felt that a little bit, right? You probably felt that. But it can't be about that kind of stuff because of all the other stuff that went on. It can't be about running into a bunch of friends. Douglas Smith here in the chat now ran into him. Jim Stam and his family. Adam and Scott from Bucko Banner. Ethan Smith. Pirate Queen and Scrivener. Cheryl's also in here, right? Cheryl and her husband Greg. And didn't get to see... I didn't finish it, but I actually still have... Boylan's here too that I didn't open, but I'm not sure I can really drink either one of them because Doug mentioned the Fresca. I'm not sure. I kind of need water, so I also have that. Sorry. Anyway, squirrel. Yeah, it's usually Gary Morgan. I didn't get to bump into him. We texted throughout the game, and then we just never met up. But I mean, even this time, like Jake and Ashley were there and we haven't seen them in a minute. You know what I mean? Because they just came up for this. So like, there's all that kind of stuff. But hey, we also had a great time. It didn't ruin everything, but it was difficult. Fans have been upset with the Pirates before. But the home opener's kind of been a different vibe as long as I can remember. Like, we'll celebrate tonight, then we'll go from there. You know what I mean? And so Bucko Mike was at the game in spirit. So I thought that was Bucko Mike. Changed the name a little bit there. Just went with Mike. I got thrown off a little bit, but I saw the nicknames. I thought it was you. Anyway, it's usually been kind of like a day that's kind of hands off from all that. Like, we're just going to be excited tonight. We're just going to do the home opener thing. We're going to be, even if it's falsely positive, we're going to do it. And then we'll move on from there, right? Early in the game, actually before the game, the boos started early. Derek Shelton was booed. Tommy Pham, who then left the game early for being sick. Colin Holderman, who then the first time he got an opportunity to go out there Saturday, he hit the first guy he faced, Judge, even at that, which may have actually been okay. But... just first pitch. I mean, whatever. Early on in the game, any kind of mistakes caused the short but loud sell the team chant. They began at that point. And from conversations I've had, they were louder in some sections than in others. It was loud in our section, but it was short-lived. It didn't last very long. Now, when I listened to the broadcast, it seemed to have lasted longer on TV than what I experienced. And I had somebody else tell me that the chants in the 300 section, which was what you hear on the broadcast, was a little longer than what it was down on the, field level or whatever. So that would line up with what was on TV versus what was happening in the section that we were in. But yeah, I mean, I saw the things, and then there was laughter that kind of followed after. You saw a lot of guys like laughing and then bumping the elbows with their buddies, like, yeah, we did that. That was fun. And then they sat down and it was whatever. But like, so Cheryl says up in the 316 where she was at for, there was 3 different groups that would start the chants. So, we mostly, I mean, it was like section wide when it did happen. But like I said, short-lived. They didn't last very long. And like, you could tell there were guys that were serious about it. They started it. They kept going afterwards. Most people that we could see kind of sat and laughed. And the same thing after the IKF was picked off. But at that point, the game was out of hand. A little less laughter. Less people doing it. But since there were probably more people waiting in line at the bathroom, or maybe just left the game altogether, but it kind of grew a little bit as the frustration grew in the game, which is actually understandable. I saw the same people that were doing the sell the team chants were also doing Let's Go Bucks chants. Like there were those who were really mad that were not going to partake in a Let's Go Bucks chant. They weren't alone. It wasn't a couple, but I could see about 5 or 6 people who would not cheer for the Pirates no matter what. They weren't there for fun. They weren't there to have a good time. They were there on a mission to just be grumpy and on a mission. And these are observations, not opinions, right? A message to Bob Nutting was sent loud and clear. There was even the airplane that went by that said, "Sell the team, Bob," before the game. Once again, and there was video that I saw later of him walking up the rotunda, which was an interesting decision for Bob Nutting to do, but walking up the rotunda and having people berate him with chants. It's interesting that he would do that. Like he didn't think that was going to happen or something. I don't know. But once the game started, all it took was just a bad moment. That's all it took. So anyway, some of you might think, oh, he's trying to downplay what happened. It was worse than that. Some others might say, oh, it really wasn't that bad. He's playing it up. And I actually could hear both ends of that. So for me, the way I would explain this was embarrassing. Just fully embarrassing. As a fan, as a baseball fan, as a Pirates fan, embarrassing. This was as bad as I can ever remember. Never worse. This is as bad as I could imagine. And if you listen to Friday's show, you would have heard that I anticipated it being this bad. And if you haven't, go back and listen to Friday's show if you want. And also, might as well take an opportunity to say, daily, every weekday, you're going to get an episode. This one here that we're recording live on Sunday night goes out on Monday. And then I have daily episodes the rest of the week. And so just throwing that out there. All right. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought that it could get very ugly. And it certainly was embarrassing. It certainly was not good. But I'm level setting here. I thought that this could have been really bad. Dave White says they threw batteries at Parker. Right? Could this have gotten that bad? Rob says, I'm 38 and I don't think fan frustration has ever felt this high. I just take it for what it is. It's much more enjoyable fan experience that way. We have a bad owner. I wish we didn't. See, that's a lot of people that I talk to kind of feel the same way. I'm watching baseball. I'm going to critique baseball. I get to watch baseball every day. It sucks. And you know what I mean? I get that. I get that sentiment. Cheryl says if he did sell the team, the new owner would likely move them and we'd have no team. I would hope not, but you definitely are afraid of that. Nutting will never move this team. But it's, man, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know if MLB would allow the Pirates to leave Pittsburgh. I hope that this team and this, the history and everything here is enough to keep this team in place. And I know there have been other teams in the past who have moved no matter what, but that's in the past. There was a lot of that going on. I would think the Pirates at this point would stay put. I think MLB would has more interest in making them better than moving them. We talk about Tampa Bay. I mean, they've not been around. So anyway, I still heard more people wanting the Pirates to win the game than people who wanted them to lose the game. Yankees fans included, but I wasn't talking about them. Like, there were still more Pirates fans who were interested in seeing the Pirates win than there were people that were interested in seeing the Pirates lose. And this was my experience. Not everyone's, not even what you heard on the broadcast, like I said before. But this whole thing will get its play around baseball. Monday, it's going to go all over. They're going to talk about it. And Pittsburgh will be as embarrassing as Oakland and Tampa. And some say it already is. That's fine. I disagree. Oakland was moving their team already. And they wanted them to sell to keep their team. But you already had a guy moving out. And even when they were good, they didn't sell seats. Tampa never sells seats, and they're good. When the Pirates are good, they do sell seats. They just aren't being good. So it's like not quite the same. But I get what you're saying. And we talk about the history. Bucko Mike says Pirates history is so long. One of the first franchises in this league, right? Honus Wagner, the first World Series, they played in it. Roberto Clemente, the first all-minority lineup, the greatest home run ever hit, 5 world champions. Even now, PNC Park. And this is where we are in 2025. And you'll blame ownership. You can blame the strike of 94-95. Some will blame no salary cap. Some will even blame the fans for making it this way, though it'd be hard to make that case deep into a debate. Whatever you think the reason is, we're now embarrassing in every way. Ownership, front office, positive fans for being positive, negative fans, the team in general just feels embarrassing. This fan base wants to root for this team. That's one thing I couldn't help but notice. I saw fans who didn't want anything to do with the Pirates doing well. But overall, the majority of people want this team to right what's wrong. They just want to have a chance. In their eyes, there's no chance, and this is where they are. This current roster, without major changes, are likely to win more games on the road this year than they do at home. They'll have little to no support at home. And those players are going to feel that weight. Maybe that changes. All of this can change. Right? If maybe that portion of the fan base just doesn't attend games, and it just goes down to less people at the games, and the people that are there do have rooting interest in the Pirates. Maybe that changes. But you also see that there's less people there. I mean, you already saw it. You saw it unfold before your eyes on Friday, right? You saw Alexander Canario getting his first chance to make something happen on the field for the Pirates. It's in the middle of this wild scene. He hasn't played a game since March 24th. They throw him in the middle of this thing because Tommy Pham all of a sudden gets sick and he screws up and looks like a deer caught in headlights. Speaking of Tommy Pham, in some world where he thinks this fan base is excited to have a veteran leader on the team, despite a track record of being the complete opposite of that, and he gets booed out of the game. It's no wonder he got sick and left the game. I'd be surprised if this guy plays a game past May, although today's game might buy him some more time. And we all watched the game. IKF, who's actually been doing well this season for the Pirates, must have thought he was in an alternate reality. Made 2 big mistakes. Boos, chance. He's hitting .375, making a lot of defensive plays coming into the series. I mean, granted, he had a terrible series, and maybe that's why. Maybe because of that. He gets picked off at second. Sell the team, chance come. What does that tell IKF? It's not we're mad at the owner. It's literally we're mad at the owner because he employs you, and you're not good enough to be on a winning team. That's what it tells the player. Rob, I kind of hope so. Rob's comment here says, Pham may be an Operation Shutdown 2.0. I wouldn't mind. But there have been mistakes this team's making prior to this game. But this was the home opener. When the team and the fans come together and the fans energize the team and try to get them out of all that stuff, right? And the opposite happened. The team, I think, was stunned. Mitch Keller couldn't get the third out in any inning, and it started to grow. It just sucked life right from him. The team appeared to have no fight. I don't know what they're fighting. I'm a believer that if you're fighting for yourself, you're already behind. This roster is going to have to find a way to fight for each other because they're not going to feel like fighting for Pittsburgh right now. The city, appearingly, right? We understand. They don't. They haven't been here. Specifically new players. The city's turned their back on the players is what they see. I'm not, you know what I mean? No matter how you feel, that's what they see. And that's just a hard thing for them. The weight of the city on their back, and they're gonna crash, and they did. And then it continued on Saturday until they finally could figure out a way to win a game today. Sunday, for you if you're listening to this on a different day. It's an indication of what this team is right now. I get that. Remember, I'm trying not to put too much opinion in here. This is an observation mostly, but the sloppy play and all this stuff, it almost always goes back to the manager. Derek Shelton was booed. I think it's safe to say that most of this fan base is done with this manager. If you wanted real talk from Derek Shelton in post games, that's gone. You're not going to get it. He's going to be cranky, Derek Shelton, like he is a lot of times. But it's not going to get any better. It will get worse. What happened Friday night probably removes about 50% of the scenarios. That's a made up number, by the way. So we're not going to go through them all. Of the scenarios where this team gets better. It won't be because the fans deserve better anymore. Not in their eyes. They'll win for themselves mostly. They'll win on the road, maybe. They won't be inspired by the fan base. I do believe that this fan base will be there to cheer them on when things do turn and get better. If that happens, they will. Because that's how it works. But, you know, maybe, like I said before, maybe once it's 15,000 people at the game on Friday nights, it won't be as much of a deal. Just to say, like, I'm kind of being hard on this situation here. It's certainly not how I fan. However, it doesn't make this fan base wrong for being upset about it, for being or wanting to be able to voice it. I'm assuming that they've weighed the outcomes and the consequences, and that they understand that these types of actions are needed right now. They believe it can make a difference. That they can get Nutting to sell, and if not sell, at least change the way he's doing business. Either way, that type of change is going to prolong the losing for another 5 years, so to speak. Sherrington and Shelton, they're gone. Whoever else goes along with them, it's a total reset after that. Reynolds is gone. Cruz is gone. Chandler and Harrington are probably gone. And probably even Paul Skeens. To be honest. Like, Skeens might be first. If a new front office came in here, you're a new GM, and you're tasked with trying to rebuild this thing and totally wreck it because the fan base is so mad that you don't want any signs of Ben Sherrington left. You see all the people. Huntington was bad. Huntington needed to go. His time had expired. And yet we still say that's a Huntington guy. As if Huntington was the right guy and Sherrington is the wrong guy. Huntington still made the Chris Archer trade, which ultimately lost him his job. Like, we understand that, like, a change still needed to be made, but unfortunately, they just didn't make a better one. Maybe that's it. But either way, it's going to be a total reset. And I'm telling you, if you're a new GM and you come in and this is your task, and you had to really look at this, would you not trade Paul Skeens first before an injury might happen? I mean, I think I would. That'd be your it might not last 5 years. If you trade away those guys, it's going to be terrible, but maybe you get back a little sooner than 5 years from now. Right? Because it's a 5 years, a typical rebuild. Like, we understand that. We didn't understand that, but we do now. We're mad because this is year 6. I know people were mad at year 4, but it never works that fast. Not unless you have what you have right now. And then when you start to look at that and you say, well, what do you mean what we have right now? Well, we're actually in a pretty decent place. Our problem is not the players that we have. Our problem is the players that we're not willing to go get. Free agents, long terms, those sort of things to add to this roster. I don't know. Maybe this doesn't happen. Maybe the damage isn't done. I think you'd be hard pressed. You probably were hard pressed to sign Skeens to an extension before Friday. I think after Friday, it's impossible. Why would he ever re-sign at a place that he saw what just happened? And I know he said all the right things. He said, it's on us. We're the ones not playing well. That goes further than you think. When that scene happened, those players felt responsible. Even if we meant to just boo Shelton and complain about Sherrington and ultimately Nutting, those players felt that. And that's exactly what he said is, we're the ones not playing well. You're booing them. You're telling them that they're no good. Cruz is on the brim of breaking out. There's no way this dude would choose to sign in Pittsburgh with the way that he's being treated right now. No matter how many good things he does, he's the best offensive player we have so far this season. And yet he's just booed every time he makes a mistake in his 30th game in center field. If you ask me, the organization should have put him in the outfield years ago. For him, they should have never taken him off short. The one thing most of us have in common, no matter where you are with all this, no matter what side of the fence you're on here, or if there is a fence or whatever, is that we just want the Pirates to have a chance to win. Whether it's today's game, a season of games, a playoff game, a World Series. And the 2025 Pirates aren't going to get there in this environment. That is probably mostly opinion, right? Take a drink here. Sometimes I forget to say I'm taking a drink. I know you guys that are watching live right now can see me, but we release this for audio too. All right, where am I at here? Opinion. I was embarrassed. I will be embarrassed. I'm going to be asked about this. I was already today asked, how did it go? Not good. Why not? You're going to see. And I have to articulate where this fan base is and explain, I don't know, why I still root for him. I mean, I don't have to explain that. Like, this is my team. So I grew up watching, grew up going to games. Family's all fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to do that. But for my opinions, I don't think Bob Nutting's going to sell this team. I don't think that it's in his plans at all. And I don't think these actions will change his plans either. I could be wrong. It's just what I think. It's an opinion. It's not fact. It's not a right or wrong thing. He's confident that he's doing everything he can to try to bring a winning team here. Sure, he's wrong. I'm not saying he's right. I just think that that's the way he thinks. I think there's a chance his intentions are real and he just doesn't know how to get it done. But I don't know him, so I can't say. But while I totally understand why the angry fans are angry, I'm not arguing their intentions at all. Douglas Smith says he thinks he may even fire Travis Williams. Well, that would be the Clemente stuff today, right? That would be part of that. I mean, this team has a responsibility, and we're not going to get into the Clemente logo on the outfield wall. I mean, we understand it was there for a short time. We do understand that it wasn't a thing that's been there forever. They probably never even communicated that they were putting it there. They were probably embarrassed that they couldn't sell advertising in that spot, which was advertising from the day that it opened. I think it was Toyota. We saw, I forget all the ones that we saw. There was a bunch of different advertisements in that spot. It's prime real estate for advertising. But then at one point in 2018, there was nothing there until 2022, when the team probably thought, we can't leave this bare. Let's put something there. And like they do in almost every effort they can possibly do, they're going to tout Roberto Clemente. They have to. That's what we have. And so they did from 2022 till now. And yet, now we're mad because it's been removed, because it wasn't communicated when it was removed. And I think that's totally fair. This team can't get out of their own way. It doesn't matter what they do. The Rowdy Tellez stuff last year, they probably made the right move. He didn't earn that bonus. He wasn't good enough. He was terrible. He had 2 good months, and then he went back to being bad. He didn't earn it, but they waited until he was, I forget how close. Very close. And then they just can't get out of their own way and do things the right way. It's fine if you're going to go back to advertising there. If you just communicate that, then this is over, right? If they just communicated and said, hey, this has been up there since 2022. We did this because we couldn't sell advertising. We found some advertisers, and we just want to let you know ahead of time that, we're going to have an advertising there. If this comes up, if fans see this or whatever, we just want to make sure that we're doing this the right way. And they just didn't do that because they don't think of that stuff. Douglas Smith said he was hired for business. He needs to hire for baseball. Well, I don't think so. I think what Travis Williams is doing is completely separate from baseball. And I think that his counterpart in Ben Sherrington, is the president of baseball operations, should be handling baseball stuff. And Travis Williams, the thing I'll say about Travis Williams, and I don't know this very well. I usually try not to get involved in this because I don't know it that well, but we've seen with all these reports and whatever else that's coming out, what Travis Williams has done is made the ballpark experience great, but he's invested a ton of money into things that don't make money. He's invested into, sure, you're going to get more money by having a bar out in right center field, but ultimately, why haven't we invested in parking and things like that, or ads? Sell more ad space, which they have, right? The outfield wall is borderline a minor league stadium, but look around the league. Most of them are anymore. We've sold ad space on our sleeves of the jerseys. We're selling, we're trying to, they're just not making enough money. How are you going to compete in free agency? Make more money. How are you going to make more money? I don't know. Make the experience better. Dude, if you don't have a good team, people aren't coming no matter how good the bar is out in right center. And it's not that you make all that much money on ticket sales anyway. Dave says Bob might turn the team over to one of his daughters, which might help. But here's the thing. I mean, like I said, I don't know this stuff, but I would imagine that Bob's plan is to turn it over to his daughters. And I've heard, I don't know if there's any truth to this or not. I've heard they have no interest. So eventually he turns it over to his daughters and they sell. There's your sell. Douglas says parking is owned by Alco Parking. Has been for 3 generations. So buy it off of them. You have to figure out a way to make money. Buy one lot. And then instead of having a parking lot, build a parking garage. Done. You got to figure out a way to make money on parking. That report that DK put out there showed that they make, what was it, $20,000? Was it $200,000 in parking they make a year? And Milwaukee makes $20 million, something like that. Come on, man. And we say merchandise. You can keep buying merchandise. Most of that money goes to MLB. It doesn't go to the Pirates. Very little of a jersey sale goes to the Pirates. Now, food, on the other hand, but that's mostly I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it, so I don't want to. I'm making assumptions at this point, and so I don't want to necessarily to go that way. I think the people, back to what I was saying, I get the intention. I think the people most impacted by this is going to be the players. They're going to hold themselves responsible, like I said. I think the only thing that fixes this is winning games. With or without Derek Shelton and Ben Sherrington. It could be with. It could be without. Most of all, with or without Bob Nutting. Winning buys him time until they're not winning. While they're winning, it'll be fine. Everybody will still know that they don't like the owner and they don't like whatever, but they're winning, so it's there. I think if his team starts winning, fans will root for him. They'll keep all their thoughts there, that they'll root for him. We've broken this team down all off season, all spring, and we'll continue to do so. We're going to keep talking about baseball after this, especially on this show. This is not going to turn into what happened last, what happened. I wanted to talk about this one time and then move on and talk baseball like we always do. I felt like this was hard to do for me. I don't like this stuff. It's uncomfortable for me, right? I can talk about it, just not put it out on the internet, so to speak. You know what I mean? Come on. But I encourage you to keep having this conversation with me. I'm human. I'm capable of hearing you and allowing an open mind to consider things. I'm also not the Pirates. So don't come into the comments here yelling at me, telling me I'm part of the problem. That's not the discussion here. Keep it civil, keep it reasonable, and we'll get along and talk about it. Even if we disagree, that's fine. But I am not the Pirates. I am not here for them. And likewise, if you are someone who thinks that maybe I'm too harsh on the situation, then likewise, we're just talking about what happened and what I think. It doesn't have to be across the board. I'm not speaking. I don't know. You can fill in the blanks there. I think I'm pretty confident in the fact that I've played this thing pretty fairly. So, people can sports fan however you want. Like, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine. It doesn't have to change the way we treat each other. You know what I mean? I think that's reasonable. If you're already rooting for another team, I've gotten this one already, then just go and root for that other team, man. That's fine. Just don't tell me to do the same. Go follow podcasts from that team. If that's your thing. That's what sports are for, man. You're supposed to enjoy it. So go enjoy another team if you can't enjoy this one. If you're just wanting to be mad, I'm sorry. I don't want to be. So that's it. Yeah, I feel like we're getting towards the end here. I don't want this to be the way that it finishes, right? I did want to make sure that we addressed this and we talked about it. And if you listen to this 2 weeks from now or 2 months or 2 years from now, there's a good chance we've changed our opinions on things. So you know what I'm saying? We'll address this stuff when we have to. Today was a day that felt like we had to. Other than that, we're going to talk baseball. We're going to focus on baseball. There were some baseball things in the chat. So I think before we sign off here, we should probably talk some more baseball. Let's hope the Pirates can get back on track after the win today. Right? Let's hope they can get going here. We did have a couple. I know that a couple questions about packages for Skeens. I'd like to not worry about it. I'd like to not worry about it. You know what I mean? Mike says earlier here, Key making that play in the 9th saved the game we would have lost in regulation. Yeah, there was a great play by Key, and then I saw some criticisms of the one down the line because he was close to it. I think we're spoiled a little bit with Key Bryan that he could make that play. He could make that play. He did not make that one in particular. He would have saved the game, like the game would have been over on the double down the line. He was close to the line. He just missed. But when it all is said and done, like that ball was hit 100 miles an hour. There's a lot of hard contact that inning. It wasn't a good, a well-pitched inning to begin with. And Adam Frazier also made a fantastic play in that inning. Or maybe that was a different inning. Now I can't remember. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There was a lot. Key Bryan's awesome. And so far he's hitting. Hopefully he stays healthy, but defensively, man, the guy's unreal. So just to address them because they're out here. Mutu says Skeens is untradeable for 2 more years at least. When Soto was traded with 2.5 years of control, the Nats got back like 4 top 100 prospects, one of which was top 10. To trade Skeens now, the asking price starts at like 8 top 100 prospects. That could be true, except Soto is he was younger than Skeens. He broke in at 19. He's also a position player, so he's not as big of a risk of injury. So that's why I would say that if you were a new GM, not Ben Cherington should never move him, right? If he's confident that he can do this thing, it's going to be with him. But like if you were going to move him, you'd be better off moving him before an injury occurred. And you don't know when that's going to happen, or if it's going to happen. I don't want to just doom everyone. Not everyone gets Tommy John surgery, but you know what I mean? You would want to trade him as soon as possible. Maybe you get 2 teams involved. Maybe there's a way that you can do it. I don't know, but the Nats got a really good return there. And it wasn't just Soto, it was Soto and Bell. They also got a great return for Trey Turner and Max Scherzer when they dealt those guys. And so like you could see a scenario where they could get guys that are pretty close by moving like Skeens for maybe 3 or 4 of them, and then maybe a package of Cruz and like I said, you could find a pair for that, but maybe Cruz and Reynolds together or something. and imagine what you could get for that, or Keller and one of those two guys together. But you're gonna have to move everybody and just empty out the rest of the league with not just top 100 prospects, but also sprinkled in some top 100s that are close. So, I mean, you could see that happening. But here's the thing, like, let's hope none of that ever has to happen. Let's hope that this thing doesn't take the worst turn that it could take. Launchpad says, would it make sense to give Heaney a 2-year extension early? I'd say no, just because, first off, I mean, one game, I think it'll be fine, but I think he's probably better off traded at some point to make room for some of this other pitching, if that's the case. Or if they're not ready, then just maybe sitting it there. So I don't know. Douglas Smith still thinks that Jack will make it happen. I'm trying to look through the thing here. When are you going to another Pirates game? I'm not really sure yet. There's a chance I don't know. I have to look at the calendar and see what it is. Obviously want to get back always. We've gone to more games lately. So like in the last few years. So there's Jim. Hey Jim, you coming to Cincy this weekend? I don't know. Now that you say it, that you made me look interested. So I don't know. I don't know. Let me know what you're doing. Talk to me, and then we'll have some conversations here. I don't really know what's going on. No, actually, probably not this weekend. I don't know. I'm going to the Dominican Republic at some point. I'm just not sure of the days. It's a lot of craziness that you guys don't need to know. But I like this. Cheryl says, the Pirates are my team. I started following them when my husband took me to a game on our first date. They've been my team ever since, rain or shine. A lot of people feel that way. There's a reason. Jim, I'll take a look at it. I don't know, though, because my wife is going on a trip. I will have the kids, so I don't know. But we'll talk about it. I'll hit you up later. I love this. Cheryl says, I used to take my kids out of school to go to the home opener. We're doing that. We traveled and everything. You have to. There it is, Jim. Katie says, you have to take all the kids to Cincy. I'm in Colorado. So because she comes home on Sunday. So yeah, it'd have to be everybody, or find somebody to watch them. That's probably not gonna happen. So there'll be more. Dave White says, I've been a Bucko maniac since that 77. If I was going to change teams, I would have done it a long time ago. Pitt City, what? Says, Endy's bat is so bad right now. Quite frustrating. I think there's time for that to play out a little bit. Young players, for sure. Oh, come home Saturday. I'm terrible. Jim can babysit. I'll just go all down there. You can tell who keeps the schedule, guys. It's probably on my phone, right? I didn't feel like pulling it out and being like, let me let you guys all in on this. Billy says the division's off to a bad start as well. St. Louis is down 15. They're 500. Milwaukee's 500. Reds are the same record as us. Kyle Tucker's carried the Cubs so far. So trying to stay positive. But I mean, the point is like, yes, it's been a really bad start, but guys, it's crazy because of if you were in that stadium on Friday and the life was sucked out of you, you absolutely, you felt like everything was done. I told Katie that the season was over, and I'm not that kind of a fan. And so, you know what I mean? Like, it just sucked the life right out of you. And I can imagine it did the same for the players. And that's why I felt like we needed to talk about this. But at the same time, you know, Billy makes a good point. If this team does turn into something that we thought they could have been, I think that's the thing that's making me so upset about this team this year, is because for the first time, I actually thought there was a chance with this pitching staff who has not come through and been what they were advertised to be. Part of that is because Jones was hurt. This team kind of got the life sucked out of him there. You had Nick Gonzalez, who was supposed to break out a little bit this year, got hurt very early, very early. And so, like, there were some things that, Bednar and Holderman being the way that they are, absolutely just crushing. And the fact that we've talked about this, and again, I keep stressing, go back and listen to Friday's show, because I put it all out there plainly. The fact that you even had a chance of Bednar being this bad and he didn't go out and do something about it. You didn't go out and give yourself a backup plan. Even if it's Craig Kimbrell, he's a guy who's done it before. And you couldn't even do that. And so, like, all of the stuff there. It's frustrating. And so it just kind of all came crashing down on Friday. And I would have rather it all come crashing down on Saturday. If Friday could have been positive, if Friday could have been what the home opener really is, I think it'd have been better. Once again, when you listen to it Friday, you'll hear that I was pretty nervous. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It really wasn't. But it was still bad. And, it was Mutu. They could really use Nicky G and his 359 weighted runs created plus now. Dave says, Josh, you need to get to another game to get that one out of your system. I agree with that one. Man, do I agree with that one. And, it's funny because, like, some of my friends here that are Reds fans, I'm like, man, I don't even want to talk to them right now. And then I pay attention and I'm like, they lost 3 straight games, 1-0. They're probably not thinking, wow, what a terrible thing you got going on there. They're just focused on losing 3 straight games, an MLB record, losing 3 straight games 1-0. And then 4 straight before an offensive explosion. But, yeah, they're probably not thinking, like I said, it was embarrassing. And so I've spent the weekend embarrassed. Even today, I watched that game and thought they can't score more than 4. But Katie brings up a point here. She was putting the kids to bed. But I didn't bring this up. The home opener isn't nearly like that if it was actually... I can't read. The first day of this season is still hopeful. Like, opening day is still there, but the home opener has less of a feeling. And like, she's just making the point that, like, had we not been so bad the first week, then maybe it wouldn't have been as bad as it was. Billy says, go sign David Robertson to a minor league deal. I mean, there's guys out there that, to your point, like, they could have gotten, maybe there is somebody they still could, but I don't know. It's crazy. I like this. Pit City What says, sometimes I take a Pirates breather and focus on the farm teams. It can help. The Indianapolis was rained out like all but 2 games until today. So it's kind of hard to even look and see, like, what are we doing? What are these guys doing? And then they're all like, Thomas Harrington's available to pitch. He comes up to the major leagues and he hasn't pitched since spring training. And it's like, oh yeah, it's been 8 days here. Go for it. Go out there and give us your best. And that was not good. So hopefully if he gets an opportunity to pitch in relief, or, I would imagine he would start a new inning. But for Majinski or after Majinski come in, hopefully he can give us at least the time through the order and show us a little bit of what we like about him anyway. But we are at time anyway. I just take this opportunity. Jake wishes he was here tonight. We could have talked through all this, but instead, that's why I wrote it down and why I had to read so much tonight. I know it's not ideal. It's not the way I like to do things, but just to get through this, and now we don't have to get through it again. But Jake will be home for next week. We'll be back here next Sunday. Remember that, like, I just started doing these every day. Not this long, but we started doing these shows every day. Tune in. Make sure that you subscribe on the YouTube or to your podcasting platform with notifications, just to be reminded, like, oh yeah, it's Tuesday, but there is something new out there. So Tuesday through Friday, you'll have me there, and maybe I'll try to get Jake in more often than what we had originally planned, specifically if he's going to miss one of these Sundays. Let's get him in here and let him talk with us a little bit.
Dang it, Bobby.
This is a tough one, guys. Thanks for sitting through it with me. Thanks for always listening to the show here. And as always, appreciate you guys. Let's go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!